So Randy introduced in this session by describing the first key to the treasure principle. God owns everything, and I am his money manager or his steward. What are the practical implications of God being the owner of your money? What does that mean?
You wouldn't have it without him.
Right. Absolutely. Though this, some may react to this, but you didn't build that, right? Ultimately, there's an element of truth to that, at least when it comes to God. If we didn't have but as far as God is concerned, at very least, we could discuss about the government, but let's not. Yeah. As far as God is concerned, the things that we have are because God has given us life. God has given us the place that we are in, the place we were born, the family we were born into, the skills and abilities that we have, the time that we have, all of those things, right? What are some more implications about being God's steward, and that all that we have is God's ultimately? Right. There's some serious implications about how we use these things. Right. Use them wisely. Yeah, being good stewards. Sharing. What else? Randy pointed out that everything we have, our money and the stuff we buy with it, is all known from God. Who do our behavior and attitudes often portray as the owner? Right. That's the way we usually operate. Right? I earned this by the sweat of my brow. And to a certain extent, yes, we did. But ultimately, it's God's. So again, what's the implication there? How are we going to deal differently if we start thinking about things, the things that we have as God's that He has granted to us, He has loaned to us? Think the parable of the talents. That the master says, "Here, I will give you 10 talents. I'll give you 5 talents. I'll give you 1 talent. Do with it as you will, but I'm going to ask for an account at the end." Shut you up. Yeah, take care of it. If the concept of God owning everything is new to you, what might need to change in your habits towards money? Is this a new concept? Or does it sound, we talked about this before. Some of y'all have thought about this before, I'm sure.
I thought for a long time we were stewards of everything.
That's right. That's right.
I'm here to help our grandchildren, take care of the woods out there, and be careful with the creatures,
Mm-hmm.
and give away some things.
Sure.
I'm cheap.
Well, yeah. How might we act differently if we think of ourselves as managers instead of owners?
A manager doesn't own, he's hired by a human being, hired by God.
Sure.
That just hit me.
I think you got to be even more careful if you're managing somebody else's money that you have to somehow have an accounting.
Right. Absolutely. And they're over you, right? It's ultimately theirs. So the way that we use these things, right? If we're thinking about ourselves as managers as opposed to an owner, we're going to deal a little bit differently with things, about things. Randy asked the question that if everything we have belongs to God, shouldn't we be asking Him what He wants us to do with His stuff? You ever ask yourself what God may want you to do with the things that He's given you? If so, what conclusion did you arrive at? If not, why not? You ask every day.
When we had a garage sale, sorry, did I interrupt?
No, it's fine.
This past March, and it was cold. Oh, it was cold. But we worked really hard getting all our stuff outside in
Right.
March and so forth. And after 1.5 hours, we had made a grand total of 15 cents. And my daughter came up and said, "Mama, don't worry about it. If nobody shows up, it's all going to be given away. We're not bringing it back in."
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And after that, after we changed our attitude, people started coming from all over the place. We've never had such a successful garage sale.
Oh, interesting.
It was really interesting.
Very interesting.
We were having to scrape the ice crystals off the furniture.
Right.
It was really cold. Nobody could come.
Did anybody else ask, or what is the conclusion that you have come to? What does God want us to do with His stuff?
Help others in need.
It's amazing. In the Bible, in a number of places you do. It's amazing if you truly ask the door to be open to you. Go through.
Absolutely. How many opportunities that we get? Yes. Right. Scripture is very clear. I'm warning you, we're going to be doing Luke this year. Luke's pretty rough on folks who are rich, who know where their next meal is coming from. So, yeah, get ready for that. That'll be fun.
Sometimes you get other sources. I know there's a couple of Masons in here.
Sure.
We take a very powerful oath to help with this report.
Absolutely. It's an excellent one. Right, and it's another one. If we really take seriously what God has said about what we need to be doing, that's a big one. Widows and orphans. That is what you are supposed to do as what we are supposed to do as Christians. Take care of the widow and the orphans. And yet we kind of deal with it like, well, God hasn't specifically told me I need to adopt this kid. We don't assume that we're supposed to be doing more than we're already doing. That's a whole other thing. Anyways, what would it look like to give to others with the same kind of grace that God shows to us? I'll let that be rhetorical. That's it. Yeah, no, that's fine. You can answer if you want to. That's,
or at least I'm always running my mouth. That's what they would
yeah.
You get a pat on the back and a smile, boom, besides the money. Get encouragement besides just
So give and give abundantly. Where it's not just here's $5, it's or as Jesus says, if someone asks you for a coat, give them your cloak as well. Yeah.
We also give without expecting anything in return.
Absolutely.
Lady that paid for the prescription said that same thing. Didn't say the first time she went out and actually met the patient.
Right.
He was taking the medicine and she said, "Why would you do that?" That time she answered, "God was rescuing."
I'm in the opportunity to
yeah. So she showed grace to that book. And you do something like that. And you're not, I realize, you try not to say, how good it makes you feel.
Right.
But if it makes them feel good, just think how much more it can make you, I always feel like you benefit them more when you do something that even than the person you do.
Right.
Well, it was a lifesaver for them, but that's not.
Yeah. Well, that's something that he was talking about in the first video, is that sometimes we have this idea of altruism. I don't remember which philosopher it was. It'll come to me. But anyways, there's a philosopher that basically said you should only give out of a sense of duty, not by any ulterior motives. And so that's kind of one of the reasons we have that idea about how we give. If I'm getting anything back, or certainly we shouldn't expect anything back, but even it makes me feel good, that almost feels dirty. And yet God is always working in this way where it's you do this thing for someone else and it's good for you too. It makes you feel good, and there's a part of this, and the suggestion here is that there's this real investment into a spiritual future.
When I think of the reply that that lady gave to the older lady,
Yes, ma'am.
it's like a ripple effect. Maybe they will carry that
Right.
on something they do and then further on.
Absolutely. It's the pay it forward type of thing. Yeah. And but it's not just the pay it forward. It's not just, oh, I'm going to be nice to you, but it's tied up, and it's all about God. God has been good to me, and so I'm going to be good to you.
I have a sister-in-law who went to the drugstore. The lady saw her in that, and she couldn't pay for the drugs.
Wow.
My sister-in-law said, "I was kidding. I will."
Right.
Well, she did look needy.
If you've ever been on the receiving end of something like that, just the humility and yeah, why would someone possibly do that?
I kind of understand. I don't think people.
So let's talk a little bit more about Jennifer's story. The real life story, Jennifer responded to the prompting of the Holy Spirit to give rather than to get. She discovered true joy. What kind of impact did Jennifer have on the woman whose prescription she paid for?
Overwhelming.
Why? What difference did it make in her life?
Yeah, I mean, because you can see by somebody would look at that.
Absolutely.
The number of people that
Face that every day.
who are taking on every third day what they're prescribing daily because they want to stretch the numbers of the town. So, well, it'll do me a little good, it won't give me as much good as probably good. I can afford it. So,
How did it change Jennifer?
free clinics and things like that help.
Do everything. How did it change Jennifer's life?
For the better. I think she felt like instead of buying stuff for herself and her household, other people needed it so much more. And in my heart, I think she would probably continue helping others instead of herself.
In many ways, she seems to have changed the way that she was looking at it.
Yeah.
Have you heard the Holy Spirit in the past? What did it sound like?
Didn't hear it and felt it.
Yeah.
You know, a feeling thing that feel like there's just a whoosh of calmness comes over you. If you ask.
Absolutely. You ask for it if you're open to it, if you're listening. Yeah, absolutely. That's a lot of the way the Holy Spirit works. It's just like, boom, here's this opportunity.
And it's just like
Anybody else have different experiences, ways that they've felt this? For me, it's usually that kind of feeling, the circumstances definitely, and almost a I describe it as knowing. Like I know I am supposed to do this, and that's most strong when it's something I don't want to do, you know, or it just comes out of you need to go and do this at this time.
Sometimes you don't realize until after you've done it.
Yeah. I've had so many encounters where I meet someone or something like that, and it was because, darn it, I need to go to the store right now, or something like that timing thing. Let me go on to the second key. Matthew 6:21 forms the second key to the treasure principle. My heart always goes where I put God's money. How have you understood Matthew 6:21? What have you heard or understood in the cause and effect relationship to be?
I don't think that's always true with people with money. The poor are not the rich.
I don't know. I think
Because they don't look at it that way.
maybe.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
I imagine. Well, and here's the thing. It's for the widow who put in her 2 mites. It took 2 mites for her to say, this is everything I have. This is absolutely a faith move. For the rich people who were there at the exact same time, they were giving far more than 2 mites, right? The amount of money that they were able to give was a lot larger. And so for them to have that same experience, for them to give as generously as that woman, they would have to give much more. So the amount is maybe different. But I think the principle, I would assume, remains the same. If you invest money in something, especially significant money, he was talking about just investments. If you are in the stock market, well, you're going to pay attention to what's going on in the stock market, right? If you have half of your portfolio invested in Bill Gates, right, you're going to really be paying attention to what they're doing, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you're greedy.
No. We don't necessarily need to bring classism into it.
You don't watch a lot of movies, do you?
I do.
You wouldn't put your money in there and forget it. You would see
Yeah,
how it's doing. If
right,
it's not
absolutely.
doing.
I think it's right. When they first got me to go into the shrine, I had no particular idea or real strong interest in those kids in the hospital.
Sure.
I feel like I'm almost related to them.
Mhm.
When I give or try to go out and raise a little money, I know where it's going. I know what it's doing.
Yeah.
I feel invested in it.
Right. Or we've all participating in the food bank. That gives us, because we've spent time in that and working with people directly, there's a connection. We want these people to do well. Sometimes it's bad because we see a connection and maybe they're not doing as well as maybe we think that they should, all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, we want people to do well, and because we're spending time with them, we're investing our time with them, it makes a difference.
I have a real
Where-
problem with
yes,
this
ma'am.
quote.
Okay?
My
With which
heart
quote?
always goes where I put God's money. It
Yeah.
almost infers that my something else always goes where I put my money.
I'm sorry.
If it's all God's money,
Mhm.
my heart goes where I put God's money. What happens to us when we put my money?
No, what you're saying.
Well,
What you're saying, all the money's on.
Yeah, all the money is God's.
So we can't differentiate. We can't
No.
split that out.
No.
Okay.
And it's
Okay, okay,
I think it's reiterating number one, it's all God's money.
okay.
But it's the same thing. If you look at it as just your money, and again you invest half of your portfolio in one particular stock, your heart is there. You're paying attention to what's going on in that company.
That's what the money we put in the property. It's all
Right,
money.
right. If you're invested in the church, you're interested in what the church is doing. If you're invested in Ms. Sylvia and I were talking about all the charities that send out the, fancy mailers every month.
Got 6 in the mail today.
Right.
6 different places.
Right. So
Well,
you give to Samaritan's Purse, and you're all of a sudden concerned. Why are you blowing all of this money on mailing me junk when I already know what you're doing? You can use that for better things.
Well, there's one charity that sends gifts,
For a dollar.
Right. Right. Yeah. Things like that.
money.
Aren't you just or
Yeah.
here's your
Or
labels, or here's your
Yeah.
calendar, or all that sort of thing. Yeah. You're interested in that.
Well, what about the person that doesn't have a penny to give?
Well, again, back to Luke. If you know where you're sleeping tonight, you're rich.
Do what?
If you know where you're sleeping tonight, Luke would consider you rich.
I'm sleeping with my dog.
You know where that is. So let's take out of it all of the classism stuff, rich and poor. Doesn't matter. Whatever you have, whatever you have been given stewardship over, and that's, yes, monetary things. That's your stuff. That's your time. That's your talents. That's your faculties that you've been given, all of those things. Wherever you invest your, especially when it's a little money and you don't have much to give, wherever you put your money, wherever you put your time, wherever you put your talents, that's where your heart's going to be. That's where you're going to be invested. That's where you're interested in. And all of us, we can look at our bank accounts and exactly where all of our money goes. And would we be pleased with how much goes to kingdom things? Or would we be ashamed at how much goes to eating out or frivolous things or whatever it is? I don't know what it is for you.
Because last week that guy said, you gotta prepare yourself for your treasures in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I said to myself, well, shit, how can I do that? I must be going to hell. How can somebody that doesn't have money prepare themselves for treasure in heaven when they don't have anything? So
It ain't saying how much money.
Right. No, it's not an investment. Right.
I guess I realized very clearly when I got into the fundraising side
Right. Yeah.
of my profession when I was an admin. I saw widows find stuff continually. When we had our very first, they never had a fundraising office. The first year we had an employee campaign. We encouraged employees to give, and we had probably a dime a piece plastic cup that I got from the guy. That had nothing to do with the gift. But the thing that surprised me was there were very generous gifts from people.
Sure.
Who would make very generous gifts. When we got down the other side of the coin, is we had which department has the highest percentage of people? Nursing, physicians, marketing, whatever, different market. The linen service and housekeeping were the number 1 and number 2 percentage of giving.
well, that's the way it
It
usually
wasn't
is.
dollars, but when they gave $1 or $2 per payday, 26, they were giving $52 a year, or $26 a year we paid. that was a significant gift in many cases for these folks. And they were still the ones that, and those are the ones that bring people back to the hospital as well as doctors. Amazing when a housekeeper, you get the star awards come to those sort of folks, but they're giving this is amazing.
We all have the capacity to give. We all have something to give. And I think a lot in just our culture, we have this idea that we have so much less than we actually do. We are rich. Monetarily, compared to the rest of the world, the homeless people in America have far more and have access to far more than rich people in third world countries. It's amazing what we have.
It's because they know what it's like to do without and to share. Really.
Everyone has the ability and the capacity to share.
And it comes from their heart, not from the pocket, but from the heart.
So, be concerned with your own heart, not with people who you perceive have far more than you and are able to give far more than you. Don't worry about their hearts. Worry about yours.
I do all the time.
Okay. Let's close in prayer. Lord God, thank you for this day, for all that you have given us and allowed us to be in control of, at least for a time. I pray that you would bless us as we seek to do your work in the world. In Christ's name we pray.